Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to see FOW game. So FOW is an interesting variant in chess.com which everyone can play. And as we discussed earlier in my first episode, I have mentioned that you cannot see the enemy portion of the game and only squares that are accessible to us will be visible. And the most important thing in this game is king safety. You have to put the king in a safe place. You have to create a shield around the king before starting an attack. That is very important. So king safety is very important, and you should never open diagonals or files near the king or around the king. Keep the king safe so that you will have the winning opportunity. Also, there are two approaches to this game. Okay, one is an aggressive approach, one is a defensive approach. So you have to do an aggressive approach to the lower rated opponents. If you're playing a lower rated opponent, you can go for an aggressive approach, but don't be too aggressive. Be smart in that. So the second approach is defensive approach. So when you're playing a higher rated opponent, so today I was playing a higher rated opponent and I was creating a shield around the king. It is a defensive approach, and you should have a lot of patience for this. Once you should be very patient against higher rated opponents. Only then you can win the game. Otherwise, they will be smart and they'll outsmart you and win the game. Okay, the most important thing about this game is any piece you see. I mean, after a move, any piece you see gives more information about the game. So you have to note down the information. So you have to note down the information like which bishop which colored bishop you are capturing. Because why you should note the color of the bishop is you can put the king in the opposite color so that the bishop will not attack you. I mean the only the queen can attack you. So that is there. And if you see king, if you see an opponent king, do not go for an immediate attack. Take your time, predict the movement of the king, and go for the attack. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how to punish the higher rated opponents with an example game. So let's go with the game. Yeah. So I started with e5. So I generally go for e5 because it opens the diagonals of the queen as well as the bishop. So after that, the opponent played, and I played the next move, queen to f6. So usually I go for the scholar's mate kind of a thing, but it is not it is aggressive, but at the same time it can be defensive as well because it defends the important square f7. F7 is the weakest portion of the game in the mid in the starting. F7 and f2 are the weakest portions. So you have to defend that in the early in the game because opponent will try to, yeah, you see, opponent is going for the scholar's mate against you. Okay, it is okay to exchange queens with the higher rated opponents, but I suggest generally you don't go for the exchange. So I went with the bishop c5 move. So I was targeting this pawn, but it is well defended by the opponent. Let's see if the opponent is taking my queen. He didn't take my queen, and I moved back my queen. I wanted to keep the queen in the game, and also I'm defending the important square f7. This is the most important square that you have to defend early in the game. You can bring the knight out and then defend the square. That is also possible. But I bring the queen early because I wanted to go for the scholar's mate because for lower order opponents I go for the scholar's. So after this, I moved the bishop back. So this is a setup I usually go with higher rated opponents. I usually castle in the queen side and put the king very safe because higher rated opponents will go for the immediate attack. So that I have to be very patient. Also, I have to bring the king to the safety. So I moved the bishop back. So I keep an eye on the f2 square always because if the if the opponent castles in the king side, and if he moves the pawn, I mean this square is the place where the king will be. So if he moves the pawn, I can take his king. So I always choose the bishop to be in the square so that it can keep an eye on the king. So opponent played the move, but if you see, opponent is not making any aggressive approach. I cannot see any of his pieces. So I also being defensive. Opponent is also being defensive. I move the knight. I castled. So this is one important squares for us. For us, these squares are very important. We have to keep an eye on these squares because opponent will attack these squares because he thinks if we castle in the queen side, if we castle in the queen side, king will be in this place, and if we castle king side, king will be in this place. So opponent will guess. If he guessed correctly, he will put more more of his pieces to attack those squares. So you have to be very careful. So after that, I move the pawn. Yeah, if you see here, he has moved his pawn and his rook was under attack. He opened the diagonal without knowing, so I captured the rook. My bishop was also captured back. So I'm moving the king. If you see here, I'm moving the king to. I move the king to this square to keep the king safe. But this diagonal is open now. This diagonal is open, so it is not advisable to put the king there. So I am taking the pawn. He is also taking the pawn. This is a mistake by opponent. He thought he is attacking my knight, but he opened his queen. So I took the queen. I took back. If you see here, some piece has come into this place. So if the knight has come there, my queen will be under attack. Okay, so I have to save my queen. So I move the queen there. So the bishop came there. I captured the bishop. So in this position, I mean generally like in closed positions, knight are better and bishop are good at open positions. This is a kind of a open position, so I chose to uh, exchange the bishop. He captured it back. So this knight at this mentioned square. I mean this d5 square knight was very powerful. So I chose to exchange that because it was controlling these very much squares around the king as well as the queen. So I decided to exchange. Also, I'm a queen up, so exchanging things will be helpful for me. So he captured it back with the pawn. So I moved the queen, and this was a mistake by him. He thought that my that pawn was not protected, but it was well protected. So after this, he found that my king was on the queen side, and he started attacking my side, king side. So I what I decided is to move the king to the safety place. So after that, he decided to see what is there in the thing, and I attacked his bishop. And he escaped with the bishop. So after that, things were normal. I was able to exchange the bishop, and he was not left with any pieces. So if you see here, now he has no pieces left over, and he has only his king and some pawns. So I waited for the right opportunity to take his king, and it happened finally. Yeah, this is about this game. So I will give you more tips. This is some of the tips. There are more tips to be winning the game. So yeah, I will tell you more tips in the upcoming videos. Thank you.